Hi again, everybody. This is Dr. Noctway. I am here with our third and final um, guide video for the first week. And this is just going over the formal assignments that you will have to either complete or begin by the end of the first week. And this is the creating the website and then putting your first essay on the website that's part of your fantasy journal, reading journal. And so the website one sounds daunting, perhaps, but I have found it to be very important. Most of our graduates, both in our bachelor's and master's programs, have utilized a lot of these online content creation skills that they've encountered in a lot of their classes. So I think increasingly this is important to do. I'll also note that you're not really writing any papers for this summer session. I mean, what you're doing is putting up content onto your website, and so I think that that's a kind of better real world way of you conveying the knowledge that you're getting through the readings and discussion in class. So with that bit of pep talk, I will point out that if you're not familiar with creating a website, it's pretty easy, actually. And thanks to kind of the times that we live in, there's a lot of web builder programs. I have links to a number of them on the guide that you can get at through Blackboard under either course documents or assignments. It's linked to there or through the syllabus itself. You can get to this document that I'm looking at right now, and this has links to a number of different web builders as well as tutorial videos. Now, I did not make the tutorial videos because it would be redundant. There are many of these tutorial videos out there. I've linked to the better ones that I've seen, and then you can just click on the hot links in the document to get to the sites. I'm just going to mention two here. I think probably for a lot of you, the easiest is going to be Google Sites. Basically, if you have a Google account, which if you have a Gmail account, you have a Google account, you can access sites and you can do this for free and you log into it. See, I'm here in the Google workspace, which may look different for some of you since I have it. Mine is supplied through EKU, but you want to then click on the sites link, and that will then lead you to Google Sites, um, where you can start building your website. The thing about that is that it's not as user friendly, in fact, as some of the other ones, but it is free if you have. And now you have to be careful with all of these because they will ask you to pay to upgrade, quote unquote, to paid subscriptions. And there's zero need for you to do that for this class. If you want to kind of experiment with it, I mean, I'm not going to prevent you from doing it, but I just want to point out there should be no need for you to spend any extra money to create your own website. The other one I wanted to highlight is Wix, since I've had a lot of experience with this. This, I think, is fairly intuitive. And again, as it says here, no credit card required. You can do it for free, but Wix is very much going to send you to various screens that are going to look like you have to pay money, and sometimes you scroll down or you scroll to the top, and that's where you can get to the free link access. um, I actually don't have a lot of experience with Site123 or Squarespace, which are the other two that I'm sort of highlighting in the document here. But Site123, I am told, is a very easy to use website that's also free. And then Squarespace is a little bit trickier because that one, you don't submit credit card info, but it is technically a free trial. So at the end of the first year, if you don't pay them money, they'll actually take down whatever website you've made. I bring up Squarespace because it is a more representative of like a professional level web builder. So if you're really invested in kind of learning some of the ins and outs of what web building looks like, you might explore that. Having said all of that, I want to stress here as we think about this as being an assignment that you're going to be graded on, that I'm not looking for professional websites here. What I'm looking for is experimentation, that you want to be thoughtful and particularly about these three areas that I have here. So design, media and user experience. Just to kind of run through those really quickly. Design is just what it sounds like. I mean, it's how the actual sort of page looks on the screen. The nice thing here is, for most of these web builders, you have multiple templates that you can make use of, and a lot of the design elements, as I say here, are baked in, so you really don't have to worry about them. I do include, for your reference, the PARC principles of design. Some of you might be familiar with these, but these are kind of the go-to principles of graphic design and thinking about visual content. So you can have a look at those and kind of review them. Media, I actually want you thinking about. I am strictly speaking asking you to put up textual content, and that is always going to be the bread and butter of English majors, right? You're writing stuff and you're putting it up on your website, both in terms of your grade at the end of the semester, and also in terms of just the quality of what you're doing, and the experience of it. I want you to think about how embedding media, images, sound files, video files in your website is actually going to improve rhetorically what it is that you're saying. And here I have links to Creative Commons and Internet Archive, which are two really great places that you can go to for public domain and free to share content. Because that's also, so I want you thinking about those sharing rights issues that come up with open web content, right? Because that's essentially what I'm asking you to do. And then finally, user experience is related to design, but it has to actually do with how your user is navigating through your website. And this is where I want you to give some thought to the sort of nested structure of your website. How many clicks do I have to go through to get to the content that I'm looking for? And just show some awareness that you're thinking about that. Um, as a formal assignment, now here's where I mentioned this in the grade contract syllabus video. This is a great example of how the assessment criteria work. So for this assignment, that is again just asking you to create the website. Okay. And again, you have time to tinker with this, by the way. We're not evaluating this until the end of the semester. So you absolutely have time to go in and fiddle with this website throughout the entire semester, just to be clear about that. You need to have it up and running by the end of the first week, though. That's why I'm giving you this video now. But this is a good example. Critical thinking skills, close reading skills, not applicable. I mean, I'm just telling you right off the bat, these are not things that we're going to be evaluating the website itself on. But creativity, stylistic effectiveness, that's very much related to the design and user experience issues, right? Because it's showing awareness of audience. And so all of those things, you could make the case, right, at the end of the semester that you did a good job on those. I wanted to highlight social relevance because that might not seem immediate off the bat, but you could actually kind of theme the whole website around an idea like um, LGBTQ awareness or advocacy, bullying, actually, racial representation. And I bring up those particularly because those are current social issues that have become relevant in both fantasy narratives and in the play and gaming communities in recent years. And if you're aware of that, you can actually kind of build that into your website and have that be a kind of running theme consistent through a lot of what you're talking about. And then finally, collaborative work and scholarly support. You can actually do here, what I mean in this context is you can actually do research on how to build a good website, and then you can demonstrate that to me in some way, or to the viewers of your website on the site itself. Or you can team up with a classmate if you actually want to sort of work together on the same website. I am going to neither encourage nor discourage you from doing either of those things. I don't think that they're necessary, and they each come with their own kinds of difficulties. But I did want to point out that those would be ways that you could also make this an exceptional assignment, and therefore, have it qualify for A level work is the key thing. Okay, I'm gonna move on to talking about the reading journal. And this is basically, I mean, in a lot of ways, it is just write me a paper. Okay. Because, the basic idea here is that at the end of each week, by the end of each week, you will write a 700-word essay. It says that here somewhere. There we go. Let me highlight that right now. A 700-word essay, analyzing how that text is connected to cultural forms of play and immersion. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to give you some bulleted points here that you can look at in your own time. But in a nutshell, you are doing all of you are doing two major formal assignments over the course of the semester. The first, or chronologically first, is the reading journal, and then the play narrative. And they are kind of mirror images of each other. For the reading journal, I'm asking you to look at fantasy texts and think about how those fantasy texts point towards forms of play and immersion. For the play narrative, what I'm asking you to do is actually look at how the forms of play that you have, that you're actually going to be undertaking, suggest narrativization and for making new aesthetic forms out of those. And I'll talk more about that assignment next week, because that's when that's first going to be due. But for the reading journal, you basically are going to be looking at the literary texts that we're reading and thinking about, what aspects of those texts would lead readers to want to inhabit the fictive world of those texts in through some form of play, whether it be cosplay or a role-playing game or even just a tabletop strategy or board game. As I point out here, for this week, it's a little bit different since we're starting out reading just secondary texts, right? And so for that, as I mentioned in the intro video, for this 700-word essay, you can make it kind of a comparative essay, would be my suggestion. Um, how do the two fantasy literature secondary sources sort of speak or interact with the two sources about games and play? Where do you see interaction between or overlap between the ideas in the four different articles? I think you will there's enough for you to read this week that you'll have no problem writing 700 words about it. And again, just to be clear, this is all about there's no kind of particular set form for this. It is a formal writing assignment, so it should have a thesis, right? As I lay out, I mean, all the sort of traditional things you'll be doing. Definitely feel, provide textual evidence. That's going to be the first way to making sure that you're doing a good job of it. But above all, just sort of create your own argument about the readings. And by the way, the Discord conversations that we'll be having are also going to give you fodder for producing these essays as you go along. And I guess that also points to a workflow practice, right? I mean, these are not things you should hold. Most of these essays are going to be due on, let me double check the syllabus here before I perjure myself. Yes, they will be due on, normally on Saturday, but they're due on Sunday this week because of the holiday. So you should be working on these throughout the week. It's the point that I'm making, and not waiting until the last minute to do them. Um, so, oh, submission. I forgot to mention that the website, you are actually quote unquote submitting to me simply by sending me the link through email. The reading journal, you're going to post on your website, and you're also going to submit, either as a txt file or as a doc file or a pdf on Blackboard. So you're actually going to be submitting it twice, and that's part of the nature of the class, where we're really using the websites as a key way of conveying your work. For the assessment criteria for the reading journal, it's really kind of wide open. You can exhibit certainly good critical thinking or creativity in the way that you approach writing and constructing your argument. Obviously, you can address, issues of social relevance. The easiest way of, if you pay attention to editing and proofreading and audience awareness in the language that you use. And if you use textual evidence for the close reading here, you've already fulfilled two of the assessment criteria and you already have a B on each essay. So, I mean, that to me is the easiest way, is just being attentive to those things. And then everything else will kind of fall into line. The only one that not applicable to this assignment is collaborative work, because I do not want you working together on these essays. You can put individual essays up on a collaboratively built website, and you can also collaborate on the play narrative, as you can well imagine, by playing games with each other. And we're going to talk more about that next week. But this is the really kind of the one formal assignment that you have during the summer session, where I want you all doing this individually, and because this is kind of where you're illustrating your personal engagement with the readings that we have for the class. I am going to stop there. If you have any comments or questions, I know that this was very rapid and it's a lot of information. If you have any comments or questions, drop those down into the comment section of the YouTube channel, and I will respond to those in Blackboard. I'll talk to you all soon.